They told me buying this house would bring me peace. But the moment I stepped out of my truck, she came storming across the lawn, waving a fake notice and screaming, "You can't live here!" What she didn't know was that her HOA power ended exactly one step before my driveway. The morning sun glinted off the sold sign as I pulled into my new driveway. I had been waiting for this day, a fresh start, a quiet neighborhood, a house that belonged only to me. With boxes piled in the back of my truck, I was ready to call this place home finally, but before I could even unload the first box, she appeared. Charging across the lawn like a storm, clutching a wrinkled piece of paper, her eyes narrowed as if I'd already broken a dozen laws. "You can't live here!" she shrieked, her voice cutting through the still air. Curtains fluttered in nearby houses as neighbors peeked out, eager for the show. She shoved the paper in my face. "This is a violation notice," she hissed. I looked down, fighting a laugh. It was nothing more than a piece of printer paper with HOA violation scribbled in black marker. No seal, no letterhead, just intimidation. "Lady," I said, keeping calm, "this house isn't part of your HOA. Check the property lines before you embarrass yourself." Her jaw dropped, then curved into a wicked smile. "Oh, I know what I'm doing. You think you can waltz in here and ruin our perfect community? Over my dead body." As if rehearsed, two men in dark uniforms appeared behind her. At first glance, they looked like police officers, but something about them felt off. Their badges gleamed too brightly like they'd just been unwrapped from plastic. My stomach tightened. Karen, though I didn't yet know her name, pointed at me. "Arrest him!" The taller man stepped forward, hand twitching near his belt. I crossed my arms, unmoving. "Funny," I said slowly, locking eyes with him. "Because this is my property. Closed on it yesterday." Karen's laughter was sharp, mocking. "Not for long. Once these officers do their job, you'll be gone. People like you don't belong here." My blood boiled, but I stayed still. She didn't know who she was dealing with. And I had a secret she wasn't ready for. That night, after the shouting match on my lawn, I sat at my desk with the property deed spread wide. Every line, every signature confirmed what I already knew. My house was just outside Willow Creek HOA's jurisdiction. Karen had no authority here. Still, I wanted proof no one could dispute. I pulled up the county records tracing every property boundary. Clear as day, the HOA's line stopped one house over. Mine was free land. Free from rules about lawn height, mailbox color, and which holidays I could decorate for. Free from Karen. The next morning, I caught a few neighbors whispering as I carried boxes inside. One of them, an older man named George, shuffled over. "Don't take it personally," he muttered. "Karen does this to everyone." "Everyone?" I asked. He nodded. "She fined me $300 for leaving my trash can at the curb 5 minutes too long. Made my wife repaint the shutters twice because she said the shade of green wasn't approved." I shook my head. "She tried to hand me a fake violation notice." George's lips tightened. "Sounds like her." "Just be careful. She's president of the HOA, and she thinks that makes her sheriff of the entire neighborhood." I thanked him, but inside, I was already preparing. I knew Karen wouldn't stop with a piece of paper. She would push harder. The fake cops had been just the beginning. Later that week, I found a letter shoved into my mailbox. Bold red letters at the top read "Final Warning." According to Karen, I owed the HOA $500 for unauthorized occupancy. I almost laughed. Unauthorized? I owned the house outright. It wasn't about rules. It was about power. And Karen wasn't ready to accept she had none over me. I tucked the letter into a folder labeled Evidence. Something told me I'd be needing it soon. Karen thought she was fighting a neighbor. She didn't realize she'd picked a fight with someone who had no intention of backing down. The next 2 weeks turned into a circus. Karen's crusade escalated from nasty notes to outright harassment. First came the phone calls. At all hours of the day, my phone buzzed with anonymous numbers. Each time a recorded message played, "This is the Willow Creek HOA. You are in violation. Vacate immediately." Then came the meetings. Karen dragged a handful of loyal HOA members to my front yard, waving clipboards and shouting about community integrity. One even tried to measure the height of my fence, claiming it exceeded regulations. I leaned against my porch railing, arms crossed. "This house isn't part of your HOA," I reminded them. "You're wasting your time." Karen's eyes narrowed. "You think you're clever, don't you? But I'll make you regret ever moving here." Neighbors started avoiding me, not out of dislike, but fear. They knew Karen's reach. She could find them, blacklist them from community events, or even threaten foreclosure if they crossed her. A reign of terror, thinly disguised as neighborhood order. One night I spotted her pacing the edge of my driveway, phone pressed to her ear. Her voice carried through the quiet air. "Yes, make it look official. He won't know the difference. If he resists, we'll escalate." I snapped a photo from my window. Evidence. Every step she took. I documented the next morning. I found a bright orange sticker slapped across my front door. Notice of eviction. Below, in sloppy handwriting, were the words, "Failure to comply with HOA standards." My blood boiled, but I kept calm. This wasn't just harassment, it was fraud. And if she thought intimidation would make me pack my bags, she was in for a rude awakening. That night, I sat on the porch, waiting. Sure enough, Karen appeared, flanked by her officers again. Their uniforms looked the same, but under the porch light, the badges gleamed like cheap tin toys. "Last chance!" Karen barked. "Leave now or we'll remove you." I smiled, calm as ever. "You really want to do this?" Her grin widened. "Oh, I do. And when it's over, you'll wish you'd never stepped foot in Willow Creek." She didn't know it yet, but every step she took was digging her own grave, and I was done waiting. It was time to flip the script. The following evening, headlights cut across my driveway. A black SUV rolled to a stop and out stepped the same two officers. Their boots hit the pavement in perfect unison, like they'd rehearsed the performance. Karen trailed behind them, arms crossed, smug smile plastered on her face. "Sir," the taller one droned, "you are trespassing on HOA property. You need to vacate immediately." I tilted my head. "Trespassing? This is my deeded property. You got papers to prove otherwise?" He froze, glancing at Karen. She snapped her fingers. "Show him the notice." The shorter one fumbled through a folder, finally producing another fake violation slip. I didn't take it. Instead, I pulled out my phone, thumb hovering over the screen. "You've got 30 seconds to leave before this becomes a real police matter," I said, my voice low, dangerous. For the first time, Karen's confidence cracked. "He's bluffing," she hissed. "Arrest him!" The taller man shifted uncomfortably. Maybe we should call this in first." "Call it in?" Karen spat. "I'm in charge here." "Do it now!" That was the slip. Real cops don't get fired by HOA presidents. These weren't lawmen, they were hired muscle. I hit dial. "Hey, Mike," I said casually when the line connected. "Got a situation. A couple of guys impersonating officers at Willow Creek. Think you and your team can swing by?" "On our way," Sheriff Mike's voice replied, firm as steel. Karen's face drained of color. "What? Wait, you don't need to do that. This is just a misunderstanding," I chuckled darkly. "Don't worry, Karen. They'll keep the peace. From the inside of a jail cell." Sirens wailed in the distance. Karen spun around, panic flashing across her face. "No, no, no." The fake officers bolted before the cruiser even rounded the corner. Karen screamed after them, but it was too late. They vanished into the night, leaving her alone. Sheriff Mike stepped out of the cruiser, gaze sharp as he spotted her. "Care to explain why we got a call about you bringing fake cops to intimidate your neighbor?" Her mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. "That's not true." "He's lying." Mike crossed his arms. "Funny thing, Karen. We brought the body cams this time." Her scream of outrage echoed through the street, but the walls of her little kingdom were already crumbling, and I wasn't done yet. Karen tried everything. Denial, excuses, even tears, but none of it worked on Sheriff Mike. He'd seen it all before. "Karen," he said firmly, "you filed over 30 false complaints in the last 6 months. Noise, trash cans, grass length, you name it. We let it slide because it was petty, but impersonating law enforcement? That's a felony." Her face twisted. "I was protecting the neighborhood. He doesn't belong here." She jabbed a finger at me, her voice cracking. Mike turned to me. "You got proof of ownership?" I pulled a folder from my truck and handed it over. "Property deeds, county records, all airtight." He flipped through them, nodding. "Yep, Karen, he owns this house outright. And it's outside your HOA jurisdiction." The crowd of neighbors who had gathered on their porches gasped and whispered. For years they'd lived under her thumb. Now the truth was spilling out in real time. Karen's voice rose to a shriek. "No, this can't be happening. Our community has rules. He has to follow them." "Your rules stop where his property line begins," Mike said firmly. "And threatening him with fake cops? That's criminal." Her legs wobbled. "You wouldn't arrest me. I'm the HOA president." I couldn't help myself. "Correction. You're the former HOA president." 2 deputies flanked her, but she jerked away. "You can't do this to me." "I run this neighborhood." "Not anymore," Mike said coldly. "You crossed the line." They dragged her toward the cruiser, but she twisted back to glare at me. "You'll regret this." "This isn't over." I met her glare, calm and steady. "Oh, it's over? You just don't know it yet." The neighbors whispered louder now. Shock, relief, even laughter. For the first time in years, they saw Karen cornered. And for the first time, they realized she wasn't untouchable. But what they didn't know was that I had even more cards to play. As Karen struggled in the deputy's grip, I stepped closer to Sheriff Mike. "You'll want to see this." I handed him my phone, already open to a folder of files. Videos, recordings, forged contracts, even bank transfers. Mike scrolled through, his jaw tightening. "Good Lord. She's been embezzling HOA funds for years." I raised my voice so the neighbors could hear. "She wasn't protecting this community, she was stealing from it. Fake maintenance projects, bogus fines, and blackmailing board members. And when people got too close to the truth, she used scare tactics to silence them." Gasps erupted. One man shouted, "She fined me $500 for a flagpole." A woman cried, "She made us repaint our house 3 times." Karen's face went pale. "Lies, all lies." Mike shook his head. "Not according to these documents. Deputies, freeze all HOA accounts connected to her immediately," Karen screamed, thrashing wildly. "No, don't listen to him. He's lying." I stepped closer to her. "You tried to destroy me the moment I moved in. But what you didn't know, Karen," I lowered my voice so only she and Mike could hear, "is that I'm not just some guy with a house." Her eyes narrowed. "Then who are you?" I leaned in, a federal investigator. Buying this house was part of a sting operation. Her entire body went limp. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. I straightened, addressing the crowd again. "This neighborhood is free now. No more fake fines. No more intimidation. You'll elect a real board, and this place will finally belong to you, not her." The neighbors erupted in cheers, their relief washing over the street like a wave. 2 cruisers pulled up to take Karen away. She fought, she screamed, but it was useless. Deputies shoved her into the back seat as neighbors clapped and cheered. Her shrieks echoed down the street. "You'll regret this! You'll all regret this!" But no one looked afraid anymore. Mike turned to me, his voice softer now. "You handled yourself well. Most folks would have lost their cool," I smirked. "I've learned never to show all my cards at once." He gave me a long look, then nodded. Well, you played this one perfectly. For the first time in months, Willow Creek felt lighter, as if the air itself had been cleared of Karen's poison. But the best part? The neighbors were finally free. The next morning, the neighborhood looked different. People walked their dogs without glancing over their shoulders. Kids rode bikes without fear of violations. Smiles replaced the scowls Karen had planted for years. George stopped by, shaking my hand firmly. "You saved this place," he said. "We thought we'd never be free of her." I nodded. "It wasn't me. It was the truth. And now it's yours to protect." That evening, neighbors gathered on the street. For once, it wasn't an HOA meeting filled with threats and fines. It was a celebration. Laughter carried into the night as people shared stories, relieved that the nightmare was over. I glanced at the empty house next door, the one Karen had ruled from like a throne. It looked smaller now, powerless. Raising my voice, I told the crowd, "This land is yours. Don't ever let anyone take it from you again." Applause erupted. Some even cried. As the sun set behind Willow Creek, Sheriff Mike clapped me on the shoulder. "So what now? You staying here?" I smiled at the house I'd bought for one reason only, to bring Karen down. "Yeah, I think I'll stick around," Mike chuckled. "Good. Something tells me this neighborhood's going to need a guy like you." The sound of Karen's cruiser disappearing down the road played like music. For the first time in years, Willow Creek was free, and for Karen, she finally learned the hard way. When you mess with the wrong neighbor, justice always moves in next door.